Welcome in. This is the second cut. This is the mega preview pod for this week's Truist Championship, formerly known as the Wells Fargo Championship, formerly known as the Wachovia Championship, formerly known as the First Union Championship, and any other bank name that they've had in between now and about 25 years ago. It's storylines. It's our best bets. It is a DFS preview. It is everything. And joining me to do all of that and then some, Greg DuCharme is here. Hello, Greg.
Gentlemen, I am so psyched. I wish this was our PGA preview. It feels like we're ready to go. It's just crazy how many storylines are building up in the game. And I guess this Truist Championship at a really cool venue is going to give us an opportunity to add one more storyline to the mix here this week. So I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, depending on how this shakes out, we might get even another storyline we did not see coming. Mark Immelman is here. Hello, Mark.
How's it? Hey, I was just listening to you do the thoroughly professional introduction there. Second Cut is just a cool name, isn't it? It's kind of a nod to the Masters. It's kind of a nod to who we were. Bravo, gentlemen.
It was really just the perfect name. And I told Mina, I said, if this doesn't work out, we'll just try the third cut, and then the fourth cut, and the fifth cut, whatever it takes. I like this comment from Ryan. We are going to Philadelphia. This is rare. We don't get to a lot of big metros. We certainly don't get to Philadelphia often. Of course, Marion is in the area, Aronimink in the area. Ryan is from Bucks County. I'm from Montgomery County, right next door. And we are going to challenge you guys to pronounce the first three words on his list here. Okay, so Greg, you get a first crack at this. You see that first word? It's spelled Schuyllkill. Pronounce that word.
You know, we've been doing this for a long time, and I rarely get nervous. I get nervous for a couple things. One is trivia. Always makes me nervous. I did not expect my palms to sweat like they do in trivia today. So that would be Schuyllkill.
Okay. Not bad.
Bala.
Okay.
And Sinwood.
Okay.
My guess is that those are wrong.
You shouldn't be laughing like that, Rick. Greg, you're failing dismally by the laugh.
Yeah, I can tell.
And for the record, every way you've said the stuff, I've agreed wholeheartedly. And okay, look, I can't pronounce anything.
I was going to ask Mark if that was the path that you would have gone. How about that third one, Greg? Okay.
The third one, I don't know how else you'd do it. After that, Monty Yunk. Okay. Now, I'm pronouncing these the way that they're spelled, and I'm guessing by the exercise that makes it wrong right away. Use, yep. Yawn, Eagles,
okay,
Wooter. I hear Mina laughing in the background.
Yeah, our Mina can't control herself.
I think I got everyone wrong.
I think you might have, Mark. That was he gave it a valiant effort. He certainly did.
He got everyone wrong?
Yeah. For the most part.
Schuyllkill.
So the first one is the Schuylkill.
Schuylkill. What on earth is that?
That's a river. That is a 135-mile river that runs through. It's the sixth, it's one of the largest tributaries into the Delaware. It's the Schuylkill River.
And then the next one's Baylor.
That's Bala Kinwood. That's a town.
Those are I didn't see there was no comma, so I said Bala.
Yeah,
and I said Sinwood.
That's what I saw.
Yeah, and then
I got Bala,
and then Manayunk is another town. So close.
Wrong.
Now the rest of these are slangish. So
use don't you guys say hey use over there? Yeah,
use guys would be the proper use of that. John, JAWN is like anything. It's like that thing. It's like pass me that John. Let's go over to the John. Let's go. Yeah. In Hawaii they use Dakine. It's like, oh, I'll meet you down at Dakine, which is just like that thing over there.
Okay.
And then Eagles is the Philadelphia Eagles, and Wooder, WOODR. That's actually the way my dad says water.
Wooder. I actually got that right.
Wooder ice. You go get Wooder ice, and you have a glass of Wooder.
Well, yous guys down here where I live, it's y'all.
Yep.
I've been in one place where it was Ewans.
Yep. Pittsburgh has yins.
Yins, yeah. Gee
so-
whiz.
Wow.
Where I'm from, it's you all.
You
All
all.
of
And
you.
I thought I sounded bad. Gosh.
Oh yeah, it's like a nasty slang. It's ugly, but we've got work to do, gentlemen. We are going to Philadelphia Cricket Club. There's 2 courses over there. We're going to play the Wissahickon, but let's start with the field. This is a not only a signature event, Mark. I mean, it stands alone, but we do have that added benefit of having the PGA Championship next week. Scotty Scheffler is not in the field, but basically everybody else is, and I can't remember a time with kind of more anticipation over the course of the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, no doubt. But before we go there, I just want to say, Mike, that the fact that you think your son or your son thinks that I'm Trevor's dad. Look, I know I'm the old one in the group, but good golly, I might have to take a deep breath before I get Rick's question.
That's tough.
Well, look, I mean, I've been called Trevor. I've never been called his father, but yeah, we go. Anyway, so me and my son will be on the call for CBS. It's going to be so much fun. From what I've read about the golf course and the research I've done, it just looks to me like the course may be the star. You know, despite the fact that we've got numbers 2 through 12 in the top 12 of the world rankings there. Scotty's got the week off. You got all these storylines going on. You got a wonderful golf course in a really sweet sports town. And I say that as an Atlanta Falcons fan to all you Eagles over there. I just hope, and I'm calling out all the Philly folks here watching the show. And if you are, tell your friends. Colt Knost is going to be on the call with me. And he has been the loudest Dallas Cowboys / anti-Eagles fan in the world. So I am looking so forward to Saturday afternoon and Sunday for the folks, the Eagles Nation, to come out there and give him all the grief that you did when I wore an Atlanta Falcons hat on the call at Aronimink one time. Because I got called stuff I didn't even know existed. But now that I see your vernacular, now it makes a lot of sense for me.
It is already a very confident fan base when it comes to the Eagles. They're usually foaming at the mouth as the reigning Super Bowl champions. There is a lot to be excited about. So yeah, Colt knows.
Joseph.
Colt knows. I hope he has not packed a Dallas Cowboys hat. I hope he has not packed a jersey. He might not make it out of Philly Cricket Club if he does. But
jokes aside, our team chats is folks are just electric about coming to Philadelphia, coming to this golf course, the oldest in the nation, if I have that correctly there. Just so much history, and to have the PGA Tour come there, I just think it's a stroke of genius. And I'm thrilled to be on the call, and I can't wait to see how this thing plays out.
Yeah, it's the oldest country club in the United States is Philadelphia Cricket. And Greg, you can take this any path you want here. Rory McIlroy is going to tee it up for the first time since as an individual since winning the Masters, and a week prior to him going to the greatest golf course on planet Earth. We've got Colin Morikawa with a new caddy. We've got Xander Schauffele back, hopefully, seemingly healthy to go. I mean, this is not a tune-up. This is a big boy battle. I think we're going to get.
I think so too. And I can't help but think, perhaps if you're Rory McIlroy and you've been on top of the world for a little while, you just got a reminder last week, even though you didn't play, that there's an old sheriff in town, Scotty Scheffler, who has not left. And I wonder if Scotty has had an effect on the PGA Tour for the last 3 years. The players have talked about it at great length, and watching him do what he did last week, if you needed one, I mean, you have a PGA championship coming up. I doubt these guys needed one, but if they did, what Scotty did last week is definitely a wake-up call. And I know Jordan Spieth's not the only one looking at Scotty saying, I need to get better. They all do. And this is an opportunity for them to do that. A couple things on Philly Cricket Club. One, I was talking to Michael Breed today, friend of the show, who had a tumbler with the Philly Cricket Club logo on it.
Good logo.
And it has, it's an Indian head with crossing golf clubs and something else. And
where's the cricket bat, bro? Come on now.
That's what it is. So it has a cricket bat on it. And Michael said today, I'm not sure what that is. I was like, that's a cricket bat. I didn't know it was called a bat. I said, that's a cricket thing. A cricket John.
A cricket John. That's a cricket John.
That's a cricket John.
There's a cricket ball. Look at that.
Here's my cricket ball. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if I can get it. There we go. With the seam down the.
Very cool.
Let me tell you,
cool.
You see those seams. So baseball is the rounded seam, the pattern. The cricket ball is actually two joins, right? And they'll shine the one side. And with the shiny side, it'll travel faster than the scuffed up side. And those cricket balls are hard. It's harder than a baseball.
Oh yeah, it's very firm.
You Rick, and describe how much those seams stand out. And here's a quick story, and maybe it describes me, Greg. I was a decent cricket player as a kid, and I was playing in a position pretty close to the batsman, the batter, as you would call him, right? And the ball gets, we call it bowled, it bounces up to him, and he plays it straight on. It skids off the ground and hits me in between my eyes right over here. So I go down backwards like a felled tree, right? I get up, and I actually have seam marks in my forehead, just like that. I don't think I ever really recovered.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that explains a lot.
So I took up golf.
So my son plays baseball, and baseball is a sport I never got into. I never liked it. And part of the reason is the ball is so hard, it hurts when you get hit by it. Now, you can call me whatever you'd like about that, but I did grow up playing ice hockey, and I had no problem getting absolutely laid out on the ice by someone much bigger than me. I had no problem with that. It's a different kind of pain than getting hit in one very small spot by a hard ball, like I imagine a cricket ball. So I don't like that kind of stuff at all. I played lacrosse for years too. I didn't like getting whacked in the arm with a stick very much. It hurts. But that kind of pain, it brings tears to your eyes. It makes you cry right away. You get tackled in football or hit in full body contact in hockey. Those are, I can deal with those. Not getting hit with a ball like that.
It's very, very hard. So yes, the one side of that, so it's the cross. One side's a bat, or I'm sorry, yeah, one side's a cricket bat. One side is a golf club, right, Greg?
Yes.
Okay,
it's pretty cool.
That was number one.
Guess who's going to merchandising Friday? That'd be me.
That's going to be good. Yeah. Okay, that was one thing, Greg. I know you were counting your things about Philly cricket.
Oh yes, the golf course.
Yeah.
Like Mark said, this could be the star of the show. I think it's going to be really cool. It's a classic Tillinghast design. He designed it in 1922, this Wissahickon course. And it was his home course until the day he died. And looking through it, well, for one, A.W. Tillinghast, his golf courses have pretty intense greens, which I'm excited to see how these play. But there tends to be some small areas where you can put hole locations. There tends to be a lot of slopes. These greens are maybe a little bigger than average, 5,700 square feet, but Tillinghast greens tend to play very small. So I'm very excited to see how that plays out. But what's fascinating to me, I was looking through the course map, and on ShotLink, you can measure out where, certain bunkers are. You can measure where things are. And it seems like right at about 310 yards, the bunkers all seem to end. I mean, every hole on the front nine, it's like 310 carry to get over all the bunkers.
Everyone, almost identical across the board.
Yes. And most of the holes on the back nine too, although there are a few that stretch out a little farther when you have some collections of bunkers. So I'm very excited to see if players take less club off the tee and position it. Now it becomes a second shot golf course. But can someone like Rory McIlroy fly it over all the bunkers all week long, play very aggressive, and give themselves flip wedges into the greens? I think it could be a real separator for very few players in this field, Rory McIlroy being one.
I wish I had talked to you before I laid my bets for the show. Anyhow, I wasn't aware of the 310 carry thing, and that's the same deal next week for Quail Hollow, incidentally. Couple things, Greg.
Yes.
First off, are you sure you pronounced Wissahickon correctly, given how we failed earlier?
Well, I read a phonetic pronunciation.
Okay, there you
So
go.
Wissahick, I am 99% sure I got right. Now, on Wissahickon doesn't sound as good to me as Wissahickon.
Right.
All right. Now, the phonetically, it looks like Wissahickon, but I don't know. I don't know anybody who talks like that. Then again, I don't know anybody who says John to refer to a thing.
Okay.
So,
Well,
I mean, I guess anything goes down here.
along the John lines, you made a very astute assumption there, comment there that I want to build on. But first, I see there's questions about weather. I'd listened to reports from colleagues, and apparently the rough is not very high. And the weather, there has been some rain, and the golf course coming into this week was firm and bouncy and quick. And so I'm unsure if it's going to be firm enough to withstand this weather and not be too soft. If it is too soft and then 310 carry off the tee helps you, then Rory McIlroy is going to be as happy as a lark, and because it plays right into his weaponry. But what I want to build on, you made a statement to say that players have been paying attention to what Scotty Scheffler does and essentially copying him. And it occurred to me, I guess I knew it, but I'd never really thought about it, Greg, where, remember during COVID when Bryson went on his thing, his tirade, and he picked up all that weight and started bludgeoning the golf ball and hitting it as far as he did, where people were calling this an inflection point in the game. And Rory McIlroy was dragged along. And he said in the end, it was to his detriment because he did his golf swing in a little bit by trying to hit it that hard. And then everyone went on the speed chase. And for Bryson, it turned into a US Open, but he was hardly dominant. You'd agree with me, right?
Yes, I'd agree.
Now you get Scheffler, who's long. He's not short, but it's a game that's predicated on perfect distance control, really good control in terms of putting the ball in the right place around the course, essentially a one-sided miss. And it's like Scotty has moved this inflection point that was power back to a place where control is kind of the watchword. And I'm actually quite excited when I talk about this because, if you watched him play last week, every ball he hit with an approach shot was exactly the right distance, whether it was receptive or whether it was bouncing out later in the week. His judgment of trajectory and distance is impeccable. And that's why he gives himself so many good looks. When he misses, misses, to Greg's point, on the smart sides of the target. And so all of a sudden, we're seeing golf kind of move back to this place where, look, length is advantageous. I'm not going to argue that. But in the end, the person who has the best control of distance and then makes putts is the person who's likely going to triumph.
I have a lot of thoughts there because it opens up my brain into a lot of different directions. First off, we are potting through right now. So we are showing off our Patreon, which if you'd like to get involved, the link's in the description. You can support us here like Daniel has, like Jim has, like Paul has. You can get some merch and some pretty good swag. Thank you to everybody who has done that to this point. Also, people are asking for Kyle Porter. I have a word out to KP's people for next week. So hoping that Kyle will, Brian will be making his debut here in the near future. What Mark has
said,
Oliver,
you're right on there, bro. Yeah, Oliver.
What Mark has said, Greg, is really interesting because one of the unintended consequences of Bryson's speed and distance is the increased spin, the larger misses, the lack of control. And for this to kind of start heading in another direction, it reminds me a lot of the NBA, right? I mean, the NBA was a big man's league. Now every team shoots half their shots from beyond the arc and they're running and gunning. There will be another change in the NBA where it go, you just want to be different than what everybody else is doing. There will be another era of the NBA when every team starts doing the same thing. Obviously, this isn't a team sport, but there are ebbs and flows to this.
There are ebbs and flows. And while distance is building, right? And more players are getting longer. The longest players are getting a little longer as well. But it's funny, there's very few of the very longest players on the PGA Tour that are able to stay around for a long time. It seems like there's always a couple of guys that are like Aldrich Potgieter. I'm not saying he won't be around for a long time, but there's always one of those guys that is not a superstar, but is longer than everybody else. And Cameron Champ was one of those guys. We've had a few through the years. And where do they go with their game? Are they able to play at that speed and at the same time control their golf ball? And so what I'm noticing now, to Mark's point, is the guys that are long, like that 175 to 180 ball speed kind of player, the 300 carry guy, they're starting to hit, instead of 58% of their fairways, can they start hitting 62% of their fairways like Scotty does? Can they start to get control of their shot shape a little bit more, so that miss, when they do miss off the tee, it's not in the woods, but it's in the rough. It's not in the water. It's, in the first cut or in a fairway bunker. And when they start to do that and control that miss off the tee, they get a little better face control. And it's very hard to control the club face at that speed. And then, because the ball is going so far, a degree off at 250 yards is in the fairway. At 300 yards, it's in the rough. At 350, it's in the woods. The same degree off. So you have to be, it's harder to control it at a faster speed, but there's more required of you as well. And as we're starting to see the skill set develop, players come out and they're fast enough. And so now they have to hone in on that shot shape. But when you do control that face, it also helps. My belief is it really helps control distance as well. I think that's why Scotty is the best player in the world, because he is the best controller of the club face. And so it's a really interesting trend. I don't think distance is going away. I don't think we're going to back off of distance. But there does seem to be a shift towards control and also decision making.
Real fast, Rick. Mina, could you put up the list of Patreon patrons again, please? Because what I'm going to do, Rick, is on Friday after my recon, I'm going to go a little merchandising. And I'm going to try and find a couple really cool Philly Cricket Club hats and bring them back. And then for all of the Patreon patrons, the second cutters, we'll have a lucky draw for everyone who's a part of that over there. So for folks, if you aren't, we're going to have a draw for some hats with that cool logo on the front. So get involved if you want to be in the draw before Sunday night. Are you good with that, Rick?
I'm great with that. And I'll tell you what, let's keep it rolling. I'll pick up some stuff from the PGA Championship and we'll do one from there as well. We'll get some raffles going. I think that's a great idea, Mark.
You got to be a part of the crew though, to be in the draw. Yeah.
That's right. And
I'll find a way to contribute as well. I haven't thought about that yet, but this is a great idea. And I have many of them.
You the golf ball czar, bro. Come on.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm going to see what I can do. Maybe we get a little second cut logo on some Pro V1s or Pro V1Xs.
Yeah.
I might have to win that draw. All right. Wow. All right.
Rick.
Things are moving. Well done. Patreon.com/C/second cut. I don't know why they do it like that, but the link is in the description. You'll be able to get there no matter if you're listening to this or watching this, the link is in there for you. Also, that patron badge is obviously a nod to the Masters badges, right? That's why I made that. That style is from 1997. That's Tiger's first win. That was the style that it looked like. That GS7079 is an Easter egg that no one has figured out what that means just yet. And I will be impressed if someone can figure out what that means. But it's out there. It's an Easter egg, so people can guess.
Okay.
The distance accuracy thing might be even more important this week because there are some thunderstorms on Thursday. And Mark, I'll start here with you because they actually adjusted starting times here. They're going off split tees in threesomes because those PM storms are expected to roll in afternoon, overnight, Friday morning, depending on what time it ends, might be a little wet as well, but the tour is being proactive here.
This is the worst news for a guy who's traveling Thursday afternoon. This guy. Okay. Yeah, but look, the tour do this better than anybody. I've often joked with folks where I feel like the PGA Tour meteorologists, there's a gaggle of them, that they should do meteorology for each and every network there is, because they barely ever miss. And it's amazing how we'll be out there and you see storms building, and then exactly at the right time, they call people off the course. Then something incredible hits. Then they get a lot of moaning from people like us to get back out there, and they pull the trigger at the right time every single time. And they always make the correct calls. And somehow they'll start telling us the week prior to the event that, look, there's likely to be weather. It's going to upset the broadcast next week at this time. And I'm like, how are you guys doing this? So yeah, if they're doing something like that, then they know it's going to be real. And if it's so inclined, then it's the kind of rain and weather that's going to have some sort of an effect on how the golf course plays.
Rick, what website are you using for that weather report?
I use Weather Underground as my go-to for the 10-day, and then I use Wind Finder for wind specifically.
Okay, so I do too. I use Wind Finder. I never check the weather in where I actually am.
No,
never. No. I always check the weather where the tour is.
If you look on my weather app on my phone, it's like Sea Island, Charlotte, Las Vegas, just the tour, just tour stops is all it is.
So I'm looking on Wind Finder, which I will agree. I don't know if it's the best with rain and storms. It's awesome with wind.
It's great.
But I'm seeing like a little bit of rain Thursday afternoon and what looks to be rain all day Friday. So I will defer to you, but it's very interesting. Don't defer to me. I'm seeing 3 raindrops from 11 to 2, from 2 to 5, 2 raindrops at 5, like half an inch of rain on Friday, middle of the day.
The problem is, what is a 50% chance of precipitation? Is it 50% that it's going half the time? Is it going to rain, or is it going to definitely rain in half of the area that I'm looking at?
Yeah,
well, this really sucks, because the last time I was in Philly for a golf tournament was a Runamick in 2018, and we had an entire day rained out. We did not even go to the golf course. We did go via the package store and we sat in the hotel room, watched movies and ate popcorn and had adult libations. So yeah, the last time I was there was a Monday finish, and a Monday finish with a major championship the following week is that's not that good a thing.
It is not that good a thing for anybody. I do not want that. We got to get this thing done. Okay. Anything else before I move us on to our wagers for the week, the grid, so we can talk about some players specifically, but are there any other storylines or things of note that we should talk about?
I think I'm ready.
Going twice. Armina, release the grid. Oh, a little Liberty Bell.
There we are.
Little Liberty Bell in the upper left. Well done. This is our matchups, our finishing positions, our winners. Greg, correct me if I'm wrong. This is week 5?
That is correct.
That we have released the grid. We have had the winner on the grid in the winner's slot from one of us every single week.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Including the Zurich. Mark nailed the winner at the team event.
That's right.
And the Masters.
That's right.
We were saving our best for the second cut. The first cut was a rehearsal. That's all it was.
Yeah, it was just a 10-year long rehearsal. But now we're ready. It's like it takes me 17 holes to warm up, and then I play the 18th really well. We're ready now. All right, matchups. Let's start there, gentlemen. And Mark, why don't you go first here with your matchup for this week's Truist?
Took me a while. I couldn't find the matchups. You know what I'm like. But that's beside the point. And so I looked through the rundown and I saw Greg's pick Ludwig over Morikawa. And I'm like, yeah, all over that. And then Mina realized who and what I'm like. And she...
This is what he's like.
Yeah. Isn't it so funny? As I'm talking about myself, my computer switches off. Anyhow, so we're back. And so Mina sends me the list, and I saw Cantlay over Justin Thomas. Now, the Cantlay I've seen, I don't know how the numbers bear this out. Rick, you can probably help me with this. But it just seems to me like every week he's gotten a little sharper. And I talked with him in Harbour Town, Hilton Head, and I said, your game looks good. And he goes, yeah, I'm feeling it. And then I spoke with Joe LaCava, his caddy. We had a long conversation before Sunday. And he said to me, Mark, he's hitting it great. Just needs to find a way to make some 10, 15 footers and we're going to be good. And so I'm like, I'm buying. And then when I saw him at a place, because he putts bent greens very well in all of my experiences. And so I'm like, Cantlay +1 over Justin Thomas. I'm going there. And look, I know I'm going to take grief because it's JT and he's just won and stuff. But again, JT could kind of dodge his driver a little bit around Harbour Town. You're going to have to drive it around this place, as far as I'm concerned. And so I'm going with Cantlay on bent grass over Justin Thomas.
Patrick Cantlay over Justin Thomas at +110. Those remarks from Joe LaCava absolutely match up with the stats. He's been an unbelievable ball striker. Some of the worst putting performances of his career as of late. So just got to flip that around. The opportunity to win merch always gets the people going. We've already people are signing up. I'm seeing it roll in my email right now on the Patreon. You're going to have to get involved. You want a little bit of merch? Got to get involved. I went with Justin Rose over Siwoo Kim. Greg, if you're carrying 2 putters, if you are changing your grip 3 or 4 times a week, I think you're lost on the putting surfaces. The numbers back that up. Rosie's a pro, man. Rosie is actually, so I pulled this, and I don't know if it's valuable or not, but I pulled it anyway. I went through my database for every single golfer in this field, and I only looked at the very first time they play a golf course. That's it. The first time they play a golf course. A brand new golf course for them. Looks at preparation. They don't get the opportunity for experience. Rory McIlroy's number 1. Probably no surprise. He's very good at golf. Justin Rose was number 2. And I was thinking, wow, Rosie's a pro's pro. He's going to be out there. He's going to be ready to rock and roll. So I went with Justin Rose over Siwoo. I paid the juice there, Mark.
One thing, did you see the video? I was told about this by Dre Gonzalez, Andre, on the golf course, because he was doing PGA Tour Live Marquee Group, and he was on the Jordan Siwoo group on Saturday. And Siwoo hits an approach shot with like a 4-iron on the 1 hole, and he squares one up, and it's in the air, and he goes, yeah, I'm a player. And the PGA Tour actually cut it and put it on social. It's hilarious, but it's so indicative of Siwoo. I mean, I'm the biggest fan of that human being. Yeah. He's just a gem.
He's the best. I would love to play golf with Siwoo. I also would love to bet against Siwoo this week. Justin Rose over Siwoo Kim. All right, Gregors, what'd you find?
Well, I have Ludwig Åberg at over Colin Morikawa at +130. Now, that's why I put this on the grid here. +130 for Ludwig Åberg against anybody except for Scotty or Rory. I think that's worth it. Ludwig has played a lot of golf courses for the first time. That's pretty much all we know from him, and he's played them very well. His play lately has been disappointing, but he hasn't played since the RBC Heritage. And I believe in his talent. I think you're going to see a player, a different looking player when he comes back after a small rest. You know, a couple missed cuts at the Valero and the Players. He did play well at the Masters, not well at the RBC Heritage. I think there's still a lot of good golf in there for him. And when it comes to Colin Morikawa, I'm still worried about I'm very worried about the putter. I know he's been hitting it great, and maybe Joe Griner gives a little extra juice like he did to Justin Thomas. It's a very real possibility. But I just think this number is too good to pass up. on Ludwig, with a very good chance that if Colin struggles with the putter, it's going to be hard to keep up on a par 70 with just, with just 2 par 5s.
Greg, I love that pick. I will beef up your conversation a bit by saying, when I watched Morikawa in the 3rd round, I think it was at Harbour Town, he hit it terribly. And I love Colin Morikawa. There were wipes off to the right. There were some pulls. It was just ragged from tee to green. So you mix that up with some poor putting. I think your bet's all but a lock.
Well, that makes me nervous.
I mean, look,
but I like the number.
Yeah, well, there has been a week off, so you can tighten stuff up. And every one of these guys is one swing thought or a blink of an eye from some good play. I know that. But this is Ludwig Åberg. And even though his score wasn't so great at Harbour Town, I took some friends and my daughter out to watch him play on a day off. And I remember Isabel, who's a good golfer in her own right, saying to me, she goes, "Gosh, Dad." He hit it the first time. She was like, wow. She was overcome by the way the golf ball flew off the club face. So I'm all over that bet with you.
All right.
The odds makers, or at least the public, are buying the honeymoon phase for Colin and Joe Greiner. We shall see, but it is definitely being priced in. Finishing positions. I see 2 top 20s and a top 10. Greg, we're going to snake this back with you. What are you finding in the top 20 market?
I'm finding Eric Cole at plus 280 for a top 20. I love what Eric Cole's been doing lately. He's been hitting the ball really well with his irons. Those took a little break for him earlier in the year, and they seem to be back. It's been the last 5 events where he's gained strokes approaching the green. At the Byron Nelson, he gained over 5.5 strokes and finished tied 5th. The putter, which took a little break earlier in the year, seems to be back. 4 out of his last 5 events, he's gained strokes with the flat stick. On a golf course that's not overly long, he's not going to be one of the guys taking on those 310 carries over the bunker, but I think there's another way for him to play. And if he plays into that 125 to 175 kind of short to mid iron range, that's his bread and butter. So I like Eric Cole, top 20.
I like the idea that his clubs or parts of his game just took a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
They're off. They're back on the clock now. Load management. I went with Daniel Berger to finish inside the top 20 at plus 130. Part of my brain says that we don't know anything about the way that this golf course is going to play, and I want guys that are giving me a wide path. And Daniel Berger does a lot of things well. He is not reliant on any one aspect of his game. He's been nothing but top 30s since like Phoenix. I ride with Daniel Berger here at plus 130. And Mark, I did a double take here to make sure this is correct. I believe this is probably the longest top 10 wager you have ever put in.
Yeah, I don't want to say there's insider knowledge here, but there's a little. First off, Berger, I'm all over Berger too. The way he's playing is so great. I was on a recent flight here back home, and Henrik Norlander was on the seat next to me. And we were just chatting and stuff, and he was telling me about how he's really fallen in love with golf again. And how, as a result, he feels like he's playing free. He's like, I'm so thankful that I get to play on the PGA Tour. And I looked at him, I'm like, yeah, but you've been playing well. And he said, no, man, I had a day when I was horrible, and I just realized, man, I get to play golf for a living. And he goes, that's just unlocked me. And ever since I've been watching him. Last week in Dallas, he was solid for a while. He was decent down there in New Orleans. And so playing in Myrtle Beach, which is just up the road from where he lives, he's used to playing on the East Coast and those sorts of grasses. Hey, I'm all over Henrik Norlander for a top 10 at plus 500.
All right, Henrik Norlander making an appearance on the grid. I love it. Not only that, but Christian making an appearance in the Patreon. Says he just subscribed. Thanks for all that you do. Ooh, warms my cold heart. Winners for this week. We've got 6 different winners. So we've done a good job, gentlemen. We're spreading this out to try to keep the streak going here. Mark, you have 2 golfers that are both 45 to 1. I've never been more proud of you. What have you found for this week?
I went scratching around the place. Obviously, I found the Myrtle Beach odds, and I was in front of one Ricky Castillo last week, and I'd heard a lot about him, and I'd heard some of the hype, and then I just turned around and watched. And I was like, not only can this boy hit it, he chips it. I mean, I would argue that he might be the best chipper or pitcher on the PGA Tour. Now, I don't know what those numbers bear out, but just the touch, the feel, everything was so impressive. And then he looked like he was up for the battle as well. Now, he played in the final group alongside Scheffler on Saturday, stumbled a touch, but then was up for it. And so he looks like a confident young man. And so I'm like, yeah, why not take this good play, this good finish last week, your best finish on the tour to date, go off to a weaker field in Myrtle Beach and go win on some grass like you used to play on. You played down in Florida. So Ricky Castillo plus 4,500 to win in Myrtle Beach.
Yes, that's it. So Mark mentioned it both times, but just to be clear here, there's an alternate field event. It's in Myrtle Beach. Henrik Norlander is in that field. Ricky Castillo is in that field. Maverick McNeely, however, Mark, who is your wager here, the other 45-1 winner, that is a Truist Championship selection.
That is, and like you described it beautifully, where you were like, Daniel Berger, new golf course. I'm looking for the widest path. I think that's a great way of putting it. I looked at all these guys, and yes, it's easy to make a pitch for Rory and for Cantlay and for Xander and for Fleetwood and all these guys. But I'm like, Mav, man, the guy's been playing great. He's a beautiful putter. He's plenty long, and he's playing with newfound confidence. So I'm like, let's go, Maverick McNeely. Let's get that big win on the resume now.
Each of them 45-1 to win their respective fields, and keeps Mark alive for a perfect grid, which would be a massive perfect grid with a 5-1 top 10 and 245 to that'd be probably the biggest single payday we've ever had on the show.
Let's go.
I went pretty chalky here. I just picked two guys at the top of the board: Xander Schauffele at 16-1 and Colin Morikawa at 14-1. I think that Greg mentioned it a little bit earlier. I think distance is a benefit, but I don't think that lack of distance is a detriment. You can play this a couple different ways, and it can turn into a little bit of a second shot test. And then Xander, I just think is kind of mispriced because all the time that he's missed and the way that Rory and Scotty and JT and Colin, like all the way these other guys have been playing. So I'm just not getting too freaky here. I'm going with Xander and Colin. Gregors, round us out here, buddy. Find us a winner.
Okay. This guy's already been mentioned. That's Patrick Cantlay. Mark, I see that what you said about his putting on bent grass, that definitely pans out in the stats as well. Bent grass is by far his best putting surface. He has been hitting the ball so well lately. It's been extremely impressive. So I think Patrick Cantlay is due for a win. He's been kind of a forgotten guy, like Xander, in a lot of ways, not because of injury, just because his performances have been, underwhelming. We haven't seen him in the mix. I think he gets in the mix this week, and this could be a perfect spot for him to pick off a win.
Greg, can you name Patrick Cantlay's most recent victory?
That would be is that the BMW championship at Caves Valley? Well, no, because he won the Tour championship the week after that.
You have half of that. You have half of it correct.
So it's the Tour championship.
Well,
no.
It is the BMW championship, but it was not
at Caves Valley.
Mm-hmm.
So this was at where was this?
There was a reason it was overlooked. Something else happened that week off the golf course.
This is in Delaware.
This was in Delaware. The Delaware delegation. Yes. Wilmington Country Club. Everybody flew in to determine the future of professional golf.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That is great hints, by the way, Rick.
Thank you.
I thought I was going to blank there. I'm glad I got it because I have him on my betting card to win and don't know the last time he won.
You were correct that he went back-to-back at Caves Valley and the Tour Championship. That was the year prior, though.
Right. So he defended his title at a different venue for the BMW.
That's right.
Pretty cool stuff. Now, the next guy is Rory McIlroy at plus 450. I think this is a little short. But that being said, I also think there's a potential advantage for Rory out here that he may or may not use. It may or may not be, it's one thing to look at a course on a map, say, oh, if you fly at 310, it's wide open, but you don't know what the what's around there exactly. So, but that being said, if Rory does not play super aggressive with the driver, I still think his game is good enough to win. So I think there's a lot of pathways, like you said about Daniel Berger, Rick. There's a lot of pathways for Rory McIlroy to win, and he just belongs on this board.
Greg, can you name Rory McIlroy's most recent win?
That would be the 2025 Masters.
Correct. Well done. Well done. That's Colin Morikawa, Rory McIlroy, Maverick McNeely, Xander Schauffele, and Patrick Cantlay for the Truist Championship. Ricky Castillo at 45-1 to get the job done in Myrtle Beach. Gentlemen, well done, well gridded. Mark, before we say goodbye, anything else we'd like to chat about?
Yeah, no flight delays, no Monday finishes. That's all I want to say. And yes,
don't we hold thumbs?
We hold thumbs and cross fingers. Yeah. By the way, I've seen both emojis. At least I think this one is the hold thumbs emoji on my phone. So there you are.
Really? There's a hold thumbs emoji?
It looks like this, unless that's like means something else.
Armina says it's just a fist.
No, look at the thumb.
The thumb's tucked.
The thumbs are tucked.
We'll have to check that out.
We'll review it. We will review the footage.
With that, I'm out. I love you all.
All right. Love you. We'll see you. Well, we'll see you. I'll see you before I see you in person. Okay. Safe travels. Mark, we are saying goodbye to him right now. You can follow him, Mark_Immelman on social. And Greg and I are going to stick around and we are going to roll through a little bit of a fantasy preview here. And as you can imagine, we've got some graphics that Armina has put together for this, and we will be using them here shortly. So Greg, just so we can set this up for the week, no cut event this week. It's a signature event with no cut, and we've got 72 golfers in the field. We've got, I think, 4 golfers in the 10K range with Rory, Xander, Colin, and JT. From a lineup building perspective, have you had any trouble or any issues building lineups so far this week?
No, I think there's a lot of good options. With such a loaded field, I do think you could pass over Rory if you wanted to and create some pretty stacked lineups. I also think there's some options in the 6 and 7K range where you could put a little more of your energy into Rory McIlroy. So I think just like the golf course sets up, when it comes to these lineup builds, you have a lot of options. I could see both. I could see stars and scrubs really working well as long as Rory McIlroy's won. And I could also see a balanced approach. Now, I believe that you're going to see some pretty big time names up near the top of this leaderboard. So I think they both work. It's just a matter of how faithful you are that Rory McIlroy wins.
Well, we will find out about that. Sorry, Mina, I was going to hit that. We are potting through at the moment. This is our alternative to having commercials. We just do what the tour does, what NBC and CBS do. We just pod through. The Patreon list is getting longer, and we're giving away merch if you're in there. So go have at it. Okay, Mina, you can get rid of that. That thumb to me. So 4-0 has dropped the emoji. That to me looks like the thumb is on the outside, Greg.
Yes, it does. That thumb looks like it's on the outside.
Mark needs to get his eyes checked. Needs to get his old eyes checked.
Yeah, look, I mean, his son is the lead. His son is the lead analyst for CBS, and the chairman of the official World Golf Rankings.
I always forget that.
Yes, he's been around for a while.
Yeah, and and Mark's the dad, so it's crazy. Okay, the golfer that you cannot live without under any circumstances is whom, please?
Oh, it's Patrick Cantlay. Now, it does not mean in this case that I think Patrick Cantlay has the best chance to win. But I cannot live without him, because if Patrick Cantlay finds something on the greens this week and I'm not in on it, I'm very upset, because I've been in on this for a while. I think it's time.
Me too. I've missed this stretch this year where he's been flushing it and then losing 4 strokes putting. I've been basically in nonstop. I didn't get there yet this week. So I hope you're right here, buddy, but I would miss out on it.
Look, I do too. I mean, it's been like 8 weeks in a row. He's gained at least 2 shots approaching the green, right? In his last 4 events, he's gained over 5.5 strokes ball striking. I mean, this is just a absolute display. And he's been able to win without hitting it like this before, but the putts just aren't falling. And it's disappointing. And as a result, he doesn't have a top 10 since the Genesis, but he's playing a whole lot better than that. And I think going to his best putting surface could be a really good sign for him this week.
All right. Well, fingers crossed that Patrick Cantlay gets the job done. That is the golfer of the week for Greg. Now we're going to go through the tiers. We're going to start with the 10K range. There's only 4 guys there, Greg. So I force you to split hairs here. And what hairs have you split to come up with 2 golfers for me?
Yeah, again, these guys are not going to end up in the same lineup, but it's Rory and it's Xander. I'm kind of expecting, maybe hoping for a little ownership break on Xander Schauffele, who sits at 10,200. I think his game is rounded into form. His short game's getting a little better. His putting's getting a little better. We haven't seen him since the RBC Heritage. I imagine that he's been spending some time working on that. And he's so talented. This isn't major surgery. This is just shaking off a little bit of rust. And what Xander has been able to do with his iron play and his club head speed are signs that he's not injured. So I do believe that he's healthy and shaking a lot of rust off. So I think he's a really valid play. With Rory, he's not only the best player in the world, arguably the best player in the world.
Wow.
Along with Scotty. Okay. Best player on tour. He's number 1 in the FedEx Cup. Okay.
Sure.
So you just can't argue that. He's the leader in the FedEx Cup for a reason. And I think there's a potential hidden advantage that even if it doesn't turn out to be an advantage, he still has a chance. It could be a huge Quail Hollow type advantage, in which case I want to be involved.
Yes. What if he just rattles off this weekend next week?
He could. I mean, he really could.
On paper, it's like it's 2 very, very good golf courses. Very good.
Yes. And it would be, so he's never gone into a PGA before with 3 wins.
And he had never gone into the Masters with 2 American wins before.
Yes. And I'm talking PGA Tour wins, right? Picking off another one, a 4th win, that'd be the most wins he's ever had in a PGA Tour career.
And I'm not downplaying it. Like, Quail Hollow is statistically the best place on earth for him.
I can't wait to get into this next week.
I'm trying to bait you into it right now.
The advantage that he has. I mean, there are a couple holes. I was briefly looking through it today. Well, I had a minute and I just had this on my mind. I was briefly looking into it today. The number of holes out there where if you can fly it 310, sometimes it's more. Like at 16, you got to fly at 340. And he goes for it every time.
Of course he does. If you could hit it like Rory McIlroy, you'd go for it every time too.
Yeah. So the number of holes out there where you can, if you can fly it that distance, you can cut off a massive advantage. Something like at number 1 last year, Rory McIlroy hit it on paper 20 yards farther than Xander Schauffele, but had a 60-yard distance advantage. Like he was 60 yards closer to the hole because of the lines you can take. So you're probably talking about a 3, 4, 5 mile an hour ball speed difference that makes a 40, 60 yard difference in the shot you have into the green. I'm probably 4 or 5 holes out there, a huge advantage. So if Rory's on his game at all, you add Rory playing well, which works everywhere, and you give him that advantage, it's he's hard to beat.
As far as Xander goes, I think the two winners outside of Rory or whatever, but like the two winners that could really even ramp up the stakes again for next week would be if Xander won this and was going back to the PGA as a defending champion, fresh off a win after a slow start, or of course if Jordan Spieth wins this, then it is just all bets are off. We're talking about the career Grand Slam again.
Those would be massive.
Massive.
It couldn't get any bigger than that because of what Rory's already achieved this year.
And Scotty's not playing, and he's coming off this unbelievable win, and he's like, yeah, we're already at like a 9.9 out of 10.
Yes, this just only gets better. And really, if Morikawa wins, it's big. If Hovland wins, it's big. If Ludwig wins, it's big. All those guys have a very realistic chance of winning the PGA.
Justin Thomas just snapped a win drought, and he's going back to Quail.
Bryson won on Live.
Bryson just won on Live.
And Bryson's another guy who could take advantage of that Rory effect at Quail. I can't wait to see that.
Bryson's last 5 majors have been pretty unbelievable.
He's had a chance to win all but the Open.
Yeah. 4. Yeah. God, next week is going to be so good. Okay. The 9K range. Sorry, I will keep us back on track here. That's Oliver. I know him. That's our dog. That's Oliver. Oh. Yeah, he's very cute.
Nice to meet you, Oliver.
There he is. He's actually laying right here, sound asleep. Okay, that's Oliver. And Greg has found us 3 golfers in the 9K range. We've talked about Patrick Cantlay. Let's skip that. Jordan Spieth. I'm fascinated. No idea what he does this week. I'm fascinated to see whatever he does.
Well, things are starting to look a whole lot better. Realistically, a whole lot better. Jordan Spieth's well-rounded in his game right now. You look at his last 4 finishes. They are all top 20 finishes. Tied 12th at the Valero Texas Open, tied 14th at the Masters, tied 18th at the Heritage, 4th at the Byron Nelson. And he talked about last week how it's like just some mistakes through the round, which is very different than I got to work on my golf swing. And so it seems like Jordan's getting a lot closer to playing golf. And when Jordan Spieth is playing golf and not golf swing, magic starts to come out. You start to see 20-foot putts go in. You start to see him chip in, and the fun aspects of the game start to come out. So that's one thing. But also looking at what he's done, I mean, it's almost every category the last 2 weeks, gained strokes across the board. He lost around the green at the RBC Heritage a little bit, but other than that, gained in every category last 2 weeks. I think it's a really good sign. And I think this could be a good golf course for him.
Yeah, the putter's back, and he's been driving it great for a year and a half. So, yeah. Okay, he's definitely just remove if you've only looked at the numbers, they're definitely getting better for Jordan Spieth. And then Victor Hovland makes an appearance, Greg. I find this fascinating. We've spent so little time talking about Victor, who has won 3 starts ago. What is it about his game that has him on the 9K list?
Well, every event, this may surprise you, every event he's played since the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, February 2nd, right? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 events in a row he's gained strokes with his irons approaching the green. The guy's lost, right? But he's still beating the field with his irons. I think after the Valspar, things started to click for him a little bit. He played okay at the Masters. Definitely hitting the ball better. I don't think he's going to have to hit a lot of drivers. Like I said, I don't know if he's really got that gear to be playing super aggressive off the tee, so he can club down a lot. I think that's a benefit, similar to what he did at the Valspar. He can play into his strengths with his irons. He's gained strokes, although minimally, but he's gained strokes around the green in his last 2 events, and his last 3 on the greens. And bent grass is his best surface. So there's kind of a lot of things trending in the right direction with Victor Hovland, and I'm wondering if the industry is going to pick up on it, because you might get a nice ownership break with him this week.
Yeah, flying under the radar just a bit. Early ownership I just put on my website. Yeah, Victor kind of in that bottom of the 9K range. Spieth is getting a lot of love. He's kind of right in that Hideki Mark Cantlay, a little bit popular. So yeah, Victor's flying a little bit, touch under the radar. The 8K range, which is the 8-bit range. That looks like an 8-bit video game to me. Finds us 3 names. We've talked about a couple of these. Mark was on Maverick McNeely. You seem to agree with that.
Yes, I'm very interested in Maverick. This is kind of like a Cantlay play in a way where I just believe in him long term and I want to stay on board. And I think the results we've been getting from Mav are good enough to warrant, right? I mean, he just came and tied third. He's finished tied third in 2 of his last 3 events. So while he hasn't won yet, he's certainly validated his performance and my belief in his improved iron play. The putting has been good in those 2 weeks. It seems like now he's at a point where if he putts well, he's going to really give it a good chance of contending.
And guess what? He's a very good putter. So chances are he does putt well. Daniel Berger, we talked about, he made my board a bit, but he's just been great for a long time, Greg.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't finished outside the top 30 since the Farmers. He hasn't finished outside the top 25 except for the Valero Texas Open in that same span. He's been really solid, and every area of the game is solid, and every area of the game seems to be getting better. You know, even though he's been beating the field, it just keeps on getting better. So I like his accuracy off the tee. He hits a lot of greens. He's a good short iron player. He's a good putter. He's just good. And at 8,400, I think he could fill a really nice spot in your lineup.
And then here's a name that we have not mentioned once yet, which I love. I love when we get here and we haven't talked about it yet. It's Shane Lowry. Tell me about Shane Lowry.
Tied 12th at the Zurich. Of course, that's with Rory McIlroy. Tied 18th at the RBC Heritage. Tied 42nd at the Masters. Had a chance on Sunday, right? Shot 81 on Sunday. That was a one-off kind of event. Tied 8th at the Valspar, tied 20th at the Players, 7th at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. He's been extremely consistent. And we're going now to a golf course that we know nothing about. I have thoughts on how it's going to play, but it's similar to your Daniel Berger play, right? This is very much a safe play. I trust his short game. I think his putting has been okay, but his ball striking has been good enough to carry him on just about any golf course. I don't see why Philly Cricket Club would be any different.
Agreed. Game travels a lot of different places. Let's travel to the wine region for the 7K golfers. Oh, there we go. A little bit of...
I get it.
Oh,
rosé.
And there's roses. Rose and rosé is a double usage there for Justin Rose. I love this one, Greg.
I really like what you said about the first time golf courses. That's fascinating.
You think that's a thing or not?
Is it for the tournaments or is it rounds?
Oh, it's the tournaments.
Okay, good. That's better.
Yeah. It's not just the first round, for example.
Yeah. Okay, good. That could be a thing.
I don't know if it is, but I thought it was worth looking at.
Well, it's really interesting that Rory McIlroy's first. That kind of validates it a little bit. Okay, he's the best player. We go somewhere new. He performs better than everybody else.
Right.
So that's great. Now you got Justin Rose in that category. Here's the other thing I like. He's been hitting the ball great. I mean, the Masters has been exceptional, but he's been hitting the ball really well for at least the last 5 weeks. He's been driving the ball better, incrementally better. I like what he does on the greens. Last time we came to Pennsylvania in a one-off kind of event, it was at Aronimink, and Justin Rose was your winner. Seems like a kind of rosy golf course, more of a field play than anything else. But
keep going. What about the last time we went to Philadelphia and got on a really short golf course called Marion? Who won there?
Well, that was the 2013 U.S. Open, and Justin Rose won there.
Bang, bang.
Classic Pennsylvania golf courses go really well with Justin Rose. And I think this could be a very similar story. His disadvantage would be now surprisingly distance. That's not going to be an issue for him this week. So I love what I'm seeing out of him.
Speaking of guys that are not at a distance disadvantage, how about these two? Brian Harman, JT Poston.
Yeah, Brian Harman won the Valero Texas Open and has been playing some pretty good golf since. It seems like he's fixed. Like there's nothing broken in his game. It seems like he's driving the ball a little better, which his fingerprint is hit fairways, right? Be accurate. That's going to work this week. He may have to use more club than other guys that aren't flying it over the bunkers, kind of playing that alternate option, the traditional way around this golf course. I think he's pretty good with his short irons. His iron play has been fine lately. You know, it's 6 out of his last 7. He's beat the field with his irons. And at the Valero Texas Open, he gained 6 shots. And I think his putting has really come around too. It's something that he did heading into the Valero Texas Open. He changed putters. He's gained strokes putting every start since. I just think that's a really good, important combination. So I'm in on Brian Harman. And then JT Poston. JT Poston's really found something with the putter. This is a little bit more of a stretch. Like I feel really good about Rose and Harman. Poston is a little bit of a stretch. His ball striking doesn't match the category of everybody else, but he hits a lot of greens. He hits a lot of fairways. And he's over the last 6 weeks, he's been making a lot of putts, and it's led to a lot of finishes where he's making cuts, but finishing outside the top 10. He hasn't missed a cut since the Sony Open, very first event this year. So there's been a lot of steady play. He's done it in different ways throughout the year. Maybe this is the week where he puts all these things together.
I like those 3 names. We've got 3 more for you. We're going deep into our brains to figure them out. They're the 6K range here. And we've talked about Eric Cole. I'm with you. The approach and the putting, the 2 things that he needed last week, worked out perfectly. Did just that. I think Tom Hoge kind of falls into that category a little bit, Greg.
Yes, he very much does. His putting's been incredible. He's gained 2 or more strokes in 5 straight events on the greens. He finished 36th at the Zurich Classic with Kevin Chappell. It was supposed to be Billy Horschel, who is unfortunately having surgery on his right hip and is out for until at least late summer. So I think Tom Hoge probably would have had a better looking result at the Zurich Classic if that didn't happen. Before that, it's 4 straight top 20s in individual events. The play has been very good, and he leans on iron play and putting. I think you're going to have a little room to get the ball in play off the tee this week, and that feeds right into the strength of Tom Hoge.
Which leaves us with just one more golfer. His name, Harris English.
Yes. So Harris has been hitting the ball pretty well. He's a little more inconsistent with his irons and his driver. But he's not necessarily a wedge specialist. He's not necessarily a birdie maker, but he is a great putter. And there's a chance this week that short game and putting become pretty important because you got some Tillinghast greens. I think there's room for a clever player here. You know, a short game putting guy like JT Poston, like Harris English. I see an avenue. I see a path for him to perform well. Again, I don't feel as strongly about him as I do Cole and Hoge, but I think there's a pathway for Harris English to play some really good golf this week.
Harris English, Eric Cole, Tom Hoge round out the 6K crew here, which basically puts a bow on this show. Greg, I will hit a couple of things here before we get out of here. Marty asks about the ESPN Betcast. I'm leaving tomorrow. It is indeed being hosted by the coach. I believe. So I was on a production meeting today. There's a lot of people involved. The coach, Matt Every, Michael Collins. I think Kevin Clark is going to do some remote stuff. I think Pam Maldonado is going to do some remote stuff. I'll be there with Chris Brees and Will Gray from Golf Bet. So it's going to be pretty action packed.
Which it should be. It is a bet cast. It's all about action. You're going to be a perfect fit. You're going to do a great job. I can't wait to watch it. I want to see what this show's all about. So fired up for you, Rick. I'll be tuning in. I think there's a huge market for this, and you're the guy for it. Plain and simple.
I'm holding thumbs. Thank you very much. Additionally, Mina, we're gonna give a live. Turn your laptop around. Let's do a live. This is an Oliver cam. Hold on. Can you get it closer to him? I'll plug it in. Get it closer to him. This is what Oliver's doing right now. Oh, turn it the other way. There he is. Look at that. Look, that's my chair. If I back up, I run him right over.
Okay. Well, don't back up.
Don't back
behind
up.
the scenes.
behind the scenes. How about that? Yeah.
I wonder, is Mina 9K? Is that spin on K9?
Oh, I don't think she's smart enough to have done that, but she might have. She's trying to claim that she did, but I don't know. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Right,
Greg.
well,
that's pretty good.
Okay. Well, very well thought of, Mina. Very, very good.
We will be back on Friday for post round. We will be back on Sunday. And then remember, next week is a PGA Championship week. So that means we're going Tuesday, Greg. We're going Thursday, Greg. We're going Friday, Greg. We're going Saturday, Greg. We are going Sunday, Greg.
Yes, sir. I'm not even sure that's going to be enough. We may have to go in the morning. I may just sit here and talk to myself in the morning because the storylines are filling up.
Why don't we? Okay, what I think we'll do is when they eventually send everybody out one tee time, or like one at a time, we'll do an episode after every guy finishes.
When they start going in singles.
When they go in singles, yeah.
That's great.
Like
Maybe we can find a way to do that there, or we can interview them after.
100 pods a day, 100 like 3-minute pods a day with the guy as they walk off the 18th green.
It's great. I think it'll do great on YouTube.
Might do great on TikTok with how short they're all going to be. Okay. We have a lot more to come. Greg is available at The Real GFD. You can find me at Rick Run Good. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Much more to come. This is The Second Cut. We'll see you next time.